It's interesting to think that the patterns that we exist in or find ourselves in today to explore the pathology being in childhood. And why do you think we have such a resistance to, I said that my resistance now I see unconsciously was to sort of dethrone my parents and then have to deal with the ways that my needs weren't met and humanize them in doing that. But I'm curious, what do you see as the resistance that we often have?
Yeah, right. That's a really common one is that we've idealized in some way what the story is, and it can feel like some type of a betrayal to them, or that we're ungrateful. And a lot of times people don't want to feel that way. You often hear people say, they did the best that they could with what they had, what they knew, or they sacrificed so much, they gave up
Hmm.
everything for me. And I think it's important to hear that it doesn't always have to come from this malicious place,
Hmm.
right? Origin wounds they talk about in the book, right? Origin wounds can come from people doing the absolute best that they possibly can, but we're still left feeling a certain way. I talk about one client in the book whose mom worked multiple jobs, double shifts most days. The only time he really got with her was on Sunday mornings, where they'd go to church and have brunch afterwards, and then she'd go off to his next shift. And he has so much love for his mom and saw the sacrifice and held her in such high regard. But it didn't change the fact that he wanted more time with her.
Hmm.
It didn't change the fact that he still wanted to be the priority, even though he could rationalize, like, she's working so hard. She's doing all of the things to show me that I am important to her. That was all true, right? But it still left him wanting more of her, right? And I think that's important to realize that this doesn't have to come from our parents always being negligent, always being selfish, always being X, Y, and Z, right? Sometimes, the wounds will come from normal
Hmm.
circumstances, right? Just circumstances that we can't avoid. But going back to your question, yeah, the idealization of it. I think a lot of times, clients often will present in therapy where they are really focused on what's happening in their lives right now. They're coming in to solve a problem. They want to figure this out. They want to talk about how to improve communication. They want to move through a particular conflict that has presented in the last couple of months. And so they're really focused on the here and now. So the idea of having a journey backwards, people are like, why? I want to solve this right now. Can we just
Can
talk
we just
about the
not go
thing?
there? Like, it was
Yeah.
just
Can we just not go there? Right. So a lot of times it feels like it's like we're going down the wrong
like it's not
path.
productive or going backwards.
It's not
Yeah.
productive. We're going backwards. Of course, there's the fear of finding things that we're afraid of finding,
Yeah, that
right?
exists regardless of whether you look at them or not. And I think that's a strange thing of the human psyche. Then we can't work with the material.
That's right. Right. And so, there's a lot of wanting to preserve the image. There's a lot of fear of what I'm going to find. There's concern of it changing the relationship that you do have today, right? Like, if I do come into contact with this, how will I be able to relate to you today? And will that change that? And I'm scared of that happening. So, yeah, there's a number of things we can come at it from a protective place of protecting others, protecting ourselves, or protecting both. And, I mean, that again, that's the gentleness of it, is that, okay, here's this protective mechanism. Who are you trying to protect and why? What are you afraid of coming into contact with? But the beauty of this work is that you can go at a pace that feels okay for you. And I think I do a really nice job in the book, really holding the reader, the listener's hand as we dive into this. It is hard stuff. This is usually not, people don't, I guess you can get to a point where you do, but usually when you're starting off in this work, it's like there's a little bit of
Yeah.
hesitancy, and, you're just a little protective of what it is that you might find, and also how it might change the way that you view your childhood too.
Yeah. And in a way, I think what has been because you've been such a guide for me in this exploration, and I do have an advanced copy of said book, and you do just like you do in life, you are able to gently invite people into a place that's filled with, feels like immense complexity or fear of facing something. And I think you do such a beautiful job of gently inviting people in that space so that their capacity can hold it chapter by chapter, which is, I mean, it's a gift that you have. And so I'm glad that you put it into written words and not just verbal words, spoken, which you get to do today. I'm wondering, and for you listening, the book is called The Origins of You: How Breaking Family Patterns Can Liberate the Way We Live and Love. One thing that I've noticed, not just in, I would say, my family system, but just in general in human systems, seems to be a common lack of skill. And maybe I'm using the wrong word, so please correct me. But it's that it seems to be hard to hold disappointment, and also there's like a fear that I've noticed in previous interactions with people that I love, that if I'm disappointed or they're disappointed, that there's not still love present. And of course that can be redefined and changed, but why is criticism or feedback, or even just exploring truths that have not been excavated, somehow, what is the right word, coupled with a lack of love? Like, to me, that's so strange now to explore, from being able to do that, but previously being like, stop talking, stop telling me what I need to do better, you know?
Yeah. Well, those people, I think, probably have some form of a worthiness wound, meaning that when I disappoint you, I'm no longer worthy of your love, connection, presence, whatever. Right. And so when we start to give feedback to people who have this worthiness wound, which can originate from being a people pleaser, growing up in a family system where you needed to please, growing up in a family system where you needed to perform in order to get love or attention, growing up in a family system where there was any type of conditional aspects to, get great grades, be a phenomenal athlete, be quieter at home. When you do these things, then love, connection, attention, validation are present for you. When you don't do those things, then it's gone. So a lot of times we operate in a system like that, and then we grow up to be adults who are so afraid of disappointing someone, letting somebody down. It's the thing that drags our worth with us.